here we go, Endeavour, of extract 2 of our flight chapter. Now remember, your writing today is all about this chapter, the green sky. So we rejoin it where the explorer is just telling Fred about his little boy dying of cholera and how much Max reminds him of his little boy. We knew, didn't we? The clues were there. Fred hesitated. You said cholera? It happened a lot, said the explorer, and he seemed to be trying to sound matter-of-fact. His voice was tight. Fred could barely hear him over the engine. I buried my gold signet ring with him so that anyone finding his bones would know that he was mine and that he was loved. I made myself a replacement. The plane gave a shudder. Fred couldn't tell if it was the sky or the man behind him. If an adult tells you that you will understand everything when you're older, you're being lied to. In fact, some things I think you will never understand. I'm sorry, said Fred. It felt very inadequate. Turn left. The government cared very little for its indigenous people at that time. I wanted his death to count. All that down there. And the explorer dipped the nose of the plane to point downwards. I've made stores of plants, of roots, of fungus, of things that might have saved him, perhaps. The jungle can heal you if you know how. I have stores of medicine, of herbs, of information. Do you think I just drank a catcher and polished my teeth? No, said Fred, I never thought that. The explorer's voice sank low. Fred strained to hear him. I would gladly have given everything I had, my life of course, but that's so obvious it's boring. I would have burnt the entire rainforest to the ground to hold him for a single minute. When your 4 tumbled down on the city floor, I would have swapped your lives for his as easily as blinking. I would gladly have watched you die in exchange for holding him one more time. He jerked the plane sideways and Fred gripped the seat with his fingernails. That's no longer the case. I was afraid that my heart had simply run out. But it transpires that the heart has its own petrol station, its own coal and its own soap. It will renew, so use it hugely. The explorer banked sharply left again and began circling lower. Now you're going to land the plane, I'll start to bring her in. Fred murmured a swear word under his breath, followed by another. Landing sounded like the least fun part of flying, mostly because if you got it wrong, you're liable to be distributed over the world in small chunks. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, said the explorer. I'll get you through the canopy hole and then you will finish the landing. You want to land with your back and front wheels on the ground simultaneously, but if you can't, it has to be the front wheels first and the back one is very fragile. Fred used his free hand to bring the collar of his shirt up to his mouth. He bit down hard. It helped keep his hands steady, though it tasted of honey, mud and dead bird. The explorer guided the plane towards the hole in the canopy. Fred craned round to look at him. His face was concentrated and glowing. They dipped down through the hole. Now take the controls, called the explorer. Fred aimed for the stretch of boulevard and for the panther. As they hurtled downwards, the thought of Max somewhere on the stone below overtook Fred, and he jerked the joystick forward and down and away from where the boy might be lying. The front wheels hit the stone and bounced off again. The impact threw Fred forward and his head smacked against the dashboard. The explorer took over the controls, wrenching the plane around, and it bumped once, turned and sped up and climbed into the air again and back out through the hole. Fred shook himself. Disorientated, they were back in the sky. That wasn't bad, called the explorer. What do you mean? It was terrible. I nearly killed us, shouted Fred. Not bad for a first try. The instinct is to push down with the stick to get the nose on the ground. The explorer sounded calm, but you have to pull backwards and up. You can practice with the plane later on the ground. You need to get the instinct into your fingers. Now I'll loop us round and come in again. This time, as they approached the stone, Fred pulled the joystick up. He held the stick steady in his hands and the nose was tilted too high to see the ground through the windshield, so he leant out of the side, peering ahead, his heart screaming in his chest. The plane touched down, rose again and bumped, and suddenly it was speeding along the stone floor towards the wall. The wall seemed to be coming up very fast. Slow to a halt, good. The explorer reached forward and pulled back the throttle and took over the controls. Good. The plane stopped. Fred sat in the front seat, sweat coursing down his face and both his hands gripping his knees. It was astonishing, he thought. It was like nothing else on earth. And he felt wobbly, uncooked. Now, what was that word I heard you say in the sky? Said the explorer sternly. Sorry, said Fred. Where did you learn that word anyway? School. Pilots never swear. It makes them look panicked. Kindly remember that you never let me hear you swear again in any circumstance. Sorry, said Fred again, but it was difficult to feel truly sorry, difficult to feel anything except the roar in his ears and the bite of adrenaline in his blood. But well done. That was a landing you should be very proud of. Fred shook his head. I bounced. But you rescued it. And that's the only part that matters. Well, Endeavour, I can't wait to see your writing today. Remember to share it with me either on Dojo or on email. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to try filming our next chapter called Waiting for Dawn. See you soon, guys.